Gather power, gather energy. Gather it now. You're breathing much too fast. Slow down your breathing quite a bit. Very, very fast you're breathing. I think people are sensing themselves, but very few people are gathering power and feeling the presence of power. It is more than sensing. It's power. Within yourself, allow yourself to feel that you're a person who's going to live an extraordinary amount of time, who has the power to heal others, who has the power to see things that are not visible, who has the power to understand, who has something that would loosely be called magical powers. They are not that rare. Many, many workers, meditators have it. It's not that rare. Power exists. psychokinetics exists, and it can be had for those who are willing to work. It comes to my attention from time to time that people manage to separate work from daily life. Oh, I only had 10 minutes to work yesterday, or an hour to work last week. That is so wrong. Work is something that we bring to every moment of our regular lives, as if there were anything else but a regular life. How can I find a preposterous example? Because they are the ones that form a visual picture that people don't forget. For instance, imagine an Olympic gymnast walking around the house, picking things up, maybe helping somebody move a table. He does not have a gymnast way of using his body and a daily way of using his body, which is not the gymnast way. He is always a gymnast, in control of his body, in control of his movements, in control of what he's doing. He knows how to move. If we're breathing, there isn't a work way to breathe and an ordinary way to breathe. It is a trained, working way of breathing at all times. That way with everything, with responses to situation, with speaking, with directness. Work is a series of habits and positions that we bring into every moment of our lives. An example occurs to me. Two people in work are talking to each other. Well, that's a work conversation. Mindful of what is said, mindful of the point, mindful. But when they go home and talk to their girlfriend or their wife or the man next door, or buying a banana at the supermarket, it's different. Why is it different? What I'm proposing is that it is in no way different. Has anyone here experienced that? Talking in a certain way, acting in a certain way, say with me or another person here, and then going outside to civilian life and acting differently. Anyone done that? 1, 2. Mine. Little hands come up. But this means but not often. Johnny puts up both hands. When you put up both hands, I immediately want your wallet. We make those differences. I assure you, a fellow like Mike Tyson, he uses his body well, and he's in balance, and he's all the time. The same with work concepts, with work thinking, work everything. So to make a generalization, we take the tools of work and we put them into every moment of our lives. The moments that we're not putting the tools of work into our functions, it's called sleeping or forgetting or being out of it or just being a civilian. How do people feel about that idea? What are your thoughts about that idea? Yossi, start with you.
I can definitely recognize many instances in my daily life where I am engaged in an ordinary way with what's happening. And then there are many instances in my daily life where I engage in an extraordinary way. Not as much as I would like to. But I can't say I can't draw like a sharp line like, oh, I'll do the sensing exercise and the 2 o'clock and I'll read a book and that's work, and let's say I dedicated 2 hours of my day to work, and then given a certain day time in the day, and then the rest is complete absorption in daily life. I think work is something that is becoming more and more integrated into things that I do. It's with me, so it's like I take it to places. Then I fall asleep, it's gone. But when I'm not asleep, it's integrated in every conversation with my neighbors, with the people at the market, in the subway. It's everywhere.
Is there a difference between the integrated reactions, the integrated actions, and the not integrated actions? What is that difference?
I feel that when I am in a work mode, everything seems to be simple and easy. Interactions with people everything is just, whatever it is that I'm there to do is achieved very quickly. Usually it's a kind interaction with people. I usually get people reacting very positively to things that I'm trying to get, if I'm trying to get something. Whereas in a non-working mode, I usually encounter, it's stressing. It's always like a fight about something. It's a problem. I'm stuck. In the not work mode, I'm always stuck. Either how do I solve this? How did I get here? What do they want from me? Why are they doing this to me? It's that kind of thing. And in the work mode, it's everything just flows. There is no whys or nothing. It's just everything that needs to get done gets done. Pretty quick, too.
I hear you talking about results, the reactions that people have getting things done. I'd like you to take a moment and focus what it is that you do differently.
I think there's if I try to describe it, I think there's a physical difference. I'm trying to describe what is that I feel different about me. I feel physically different.
Describe that, please.
I feel my body, the way I speak, everything is different physically, and like the way I perceive space and people is different. It's like it's not like it's doing things within. It's like being. I'm sensing. I'm not thinking. Oh, I'll start sensing now because I need to go do something. But it's a place. It feels like it's a physical space that I'm aware that I'm there, and from that place, that physical place, it just happens.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like it's a place that I know. I know when I'm there. It's not like I don't have to think, okay, how do I get there? It's like I know that place already, and all of a sudden I'm there. And I know that, okay, now I'm doing it from there. I know when I'm doing it from there, let's say this way, I do not know when I don't do it from there, because when I don't do it from there, I'm not there.
Are you talking about doing it? Some people do it on Thursdays, some people do it on Tuesday and Friday. How would a civilian know that you are either doing it or not doing it?
A civilian?
Yes. Or somebody who is really going to look closely. So Mr. Jones meets you at 12 o'clock when you are doing it. And he's going to describe what he saw in you. And then Mr. Harris is going to meet you at 5 o'clock when you've done it already and you're not doing it then. What would he see or hear?
Well, the first one will see someone who is attentive, patient.
Mm-hmm.
And doesn't talk too much. And the second one will see exactly the opposite.
That's all the difference?
I'm just thinking of external differences.
Okay, mention 40 or 50. I have all night. You say you are more attentive,
Yes.
and you
I look in the eyes.
look in the eyes, yes.
Yeah. I for whatever reason, I seem to really care about whoever's in front of me.
You
But I don't know if I'm sure they can sense it, they feel it, because I see by the way they react to me is that they're feeling something.
You're
I'm
attentive,
gonna
you're caring, and you're feeling, and you're direct. No?
I can't give a list of 50 things.
Well, try for 20.
It's all, I think like all I'm doing is just going around describing the same thing, basically.
Is your tone of voice different?
Yes.
In what way would you say?
It's probably quieter.
You speak quieter?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
More. I don't know how to put it into words.
Try. Because others are learning from what you're saying.
I think I'm more precise in how I phrase what it is that I'm saying. I'm able to convey whatever it is that I'm trying to say in a precise way. I don't, because I can definitely think of the other not doing it, starting to talk about something, and before I know it, I'm talking about what I did last year,
Mm-hmm.
where I'm still thinking that I'm making my point, half an hour later, I'll find myself saying, so does that answer your question, knowing that it absolutely didn't. Well, when I'm doing it, I know how to answer the question with few words. It's not like knowing, I just answer it. Or I say whatever I need to say. Whatever needs to be said.
What's your attitude towards another person in both modes?
Well, in the doing it mode, if that's what I'll choose to call it now, it'll be, I know them. I feel like I know them. I feel like an intimacy with them. Even if it's someone who's working at the market that I buy oranges from. There's it's like a brother or a sister in a way. There's a closeness there. They're not aliens. I'm not. And not doing it, I'm always in front of strangers. I'm an alien, they're aliens, and I don't understand them, and they don't understand me.
If you're by yourself at home or walking down the street, what do you do differently in one mode or the other?
It's my posture, my breath, how I walk. I remember talking to you a while back, and it was when I'm remembering, I walk like a king. The density of the air is different, and the sidewalk feels different. I recall, it doesn't matter if it's humid or if it's very cold. When I remember, it's always the perfect temperature. The light is always perfect. When I'm not, it's always wrong. It's always hot, it's always cold. My shoes are always uncomfortable. The chair is always uncomfortable. The street is always dirty. I think the difference is this criticizing faculty is removed. I'm just saying things as they are, and I operate. Whatever, it's like, it's just, I move in it. I remember describing riding my bike or walking the sidewalk, in a crowded sidewalk, and if I'm connected, I just flow through the crowded sidewalk. I don't need to calculate how I'm going to go walk through or bump into someone. If I need to touch someone to move, I can touch them very gently. No one ever turns and looks at me weird. When I'm not, I will probably try and take the other sidewalk because I can't figure it out. It's just, everything is, there's something that reads things and can maneuver very, very swiftly. And when not, it just bumps into everything.
What do you have to do to go from not to into?
Remember it.
Mm-hmm.
It's there, it's available. I don't have to do to sense for half an hour. I sit in the chair and it's there. I walk and it's there. I have to remember the place, and I remember, I know what it feels like, and all I have to do is just call upon that place, and it's there.
What's your thinking pattern like in both places?
There's no thinking. I don't think there's a thinking pattern when I'm there. usually, for my, as honest as I can be, usually when there is no chatter. I can observe things arise, but and then I'll completely recognize when something comes up. And between things that come up, there's just nothing. Whereas on the other thing, it feels like I can't breathe because I'm drowned in. My heartbeat's different. My pulse is different. There's anxiety and there's this heaviness and that motor up there is just constantly shooting thoughts, whatever you can call them. But in the other, it's quiet. So if there's a thought pattern, it's a very relaxed and slow, and it's to the point too. It's more inspirational. It's more inspiring thoughts, insights, more than I don't like. It's more insights.
It seems that when you talk about being in, it's a lot better than being out.
Absolutely.
So I wonder why you leave the comfort and well-being of the in position to go to the difficulties of the out position.
I asked you that last night in general. What is it, that force? Because there's a force that pulls me. I'm plucked from in. There's I don't choose to. I don't think there's a choice there. All of a sudden, there's a realization. The realization is when I'm in again, only then there's a realization that I was out.
Mm.
And then there was a realization of how long I was out.
So the self, the individual, seems to leave and return.
Yes. I tend to not be very aware of what is it that comes from outside and steals me or steals it.
Could it be something from within?
Yeah, it can be a thought. Like the thought, it seems like I don't know. It seems like thoughts might be responses to something coming from outside. Many times.
How do you plan to improve the situation?
Ask for help.
Hmm?
Ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
Help me.
Mm-hmm. That's one way. Maybe there are 2 or 3 ways.
Work harder.
Work harder. How would you work harder?
Pay more attention.
You pay more attention. Pay more attention to what?
To Yossi.
To
To me.
Mhm.
I think my main problem is that I tend to, of course, for me, of course, think that I'm already there. And so I take it for granted that I'm already there. And it's when I get these big punches in my face that I say, you're not there. You're not there. You have to work hard. And and then it goes away again, because again that part that thinks that it's like so fantastic walks around so full of itself, steps in, and I'm very identified with that part.
Identified?
Yeah.
That word came up lately.
Yeah.
What do you mean by identified?
I believe it's me.
You believe it's you?
I believe in what it's saying. I believe in what it's saying to me, as we spoke yesterday. I believe in the bullshit that it tells me. And the bullshit that it happens to tell me is, you're so amazing.
You're so amazing.
Yeah, you're so amazing. You so have it together. They so don't get you. And I'm like, wow, I'm so together. They so don't get me. I'm so ahead of them. You know?
You're convincing me.
Yeah, I'm convincing myself. It just convinces me. I'm like, yeah, I'm together. It's smart. It's brilliant. And it's, I think I totally take the hat that I don't wear right now to honor it. It's an amazing mechanism.
What do you think of not working harder, but perhaps working smarter?
I think it's probably the right thing.
How do you feel right now? A nod? You feel like nodding?
I feel very thankful for speaking. For speaking.
You feel thankful for speaking?
For being asked to speak.
Well, I'm also grateful that you spoke. That's what you're here for. Say, for instance, Yanni, what have you gathered from this subject?
Jenny was thinking about something you read about how one cannot jump over his own knees. And that was brought about by the question about identifying or being identified, and how one has to go back to what takes the attention and derails the effort. So as Yossi was speaking, Jenny was thinking how true it is that thinking that one has it is the beginning of falling off. And how the struggle is really trying to limit the time before we realize that we have fallen off and get back on. In the last couple of weeks, this man's routine has been changed. He wasn't at the office, and that created a lot of difficulty in by changing all the routines that he is somewhat used to, and so realized that no matter what, he can't put enough pressure on himself to work harder. because the part that wants to work is weak, and the part that wants to fall asleep and wants to forget the work is really the default mode for this person. And so just changing routine usually means falling asleep faster, falling asleep more often, and not recognizing as sleep what really is sleep. So going back to what Yasu was saying, it seems to have a lot to do with where one puts one's attention and how long it takes to realize that one has lost it. Because that's where the power is lost, that's where the energy is drained, and that's where all the troubles come from, including thinking that we have it, we got it, and we can hold on to it, which is always an illusion.
You mentioned the matter of routine. Let's just play with the idea. You're going to take a bath, shower. That's something you do, you've done many times. Is that easier for you to maintain your attention on that program? Getting out of your chair, taking care of it, and winding up in the bath and doing that. Is that an easy piece of business?
It's easier in the sense that I have tried to weave, this man has tried to weave work tools into his routine.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, he alternates days in which he uses the right hand to put soap on himself for the left hand. But even a simple exercise like that is forgotten in a different environment. And the way I think of it is that if this person is working, everything is novel, everything is new, it's fresh, has a different feeling to it. It's crisp, it's not the usual thing, it's not the usual way to walk, it's not the usual way to wash or to shave. But when the circumstances are different, it gets kind of mesmerized by the fact that the circumstances are different. And so just because that feels fresh and novel, he feels that it's working, and it's not. It's completely asleep. This person has believed for a while that as long as it's going to be inhabiting this body, it will be following routines, and has tried to substitute the usual routines with different routines, work informed or work related routines. For instance, counting instead of thinking his thoughts, or following his breath instead of just letting his lungs breathe for him. And when he's not in the usual circumstances, I guess the machine gets distracted by the novelty of the surroundings or the differences and the noises or whatever it is, and falls asleep. So he finds it easier to work, or at least maybe it's just imagining that it's easier for him to work in his usual surroundings, with the weekly meetings, with the monthly meetings here, as opposed to not having those forms of help.
Just imagining maybe you're in your hotel room or one of the rooms near where you're going to make a presentation. Do you see yourself focusing on what you're going to do, what you're going to say, how you're going to look? Is that on your mind?
No. What's on my mind is what you said a while ago, that if one is not thinking of the work, it's just asleep.
Mm-hmm.
If one is not sensing, basically asleep. If one is not remembering that we're dying every moment that we are alive, and we're only alive if we realize we're dying, then we're not working. And I started working on putting together a list of the different ways in which the word remembering oneself can be taken. And there's some of those. Because it is said in the literature that it is the most important thing, is the most basic thing, but it's not necessarily explained in all its facets, in all its different aspects, what is to remember oneself, what Yossi was talking about, speaking clearly, speaking few words, getting to the point. These are things that the machine doesn't do. These are things we can demand of the machine if we remember. And the same is true for walking, the same is true for muscle tension, or for wishing well to people, or for remembering the 2 o'clock exercises. These are not things that happen by default. They only happen by directing our attention to it.
Imagine, for instance, that you're walking down the street. Would it make work easier for you to have in mind that you must present yourself in a certain way? You're walking, you must be conscious of yourself, you must have power, you must look like you know what you're doing. Is that on mind?
It is. The way it works for this person is that he has had, for most of his life, a tendency to want to look at people in the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And so walking in the street, he used to look at people.
I remember.
And it has been perhaps one of the hardest pieces of work to remember to not do that. and the machine by default always goes back to that. An exercise that the chair gave this person maybe 11, if not 12 years ago, was to wish well to people he encountered in his path. That remains extremely difficult because the machine just doesn't want to do it. There is a part that wishes to be sincere in wishing well to people, but the reality is the wishes that it sends to people are more of a mechanical nature. But that's better than thinking about nonsense or following the chatter in his mind.
What do you suppose would be the difference in the frame of mind of a matador on Sunday afternoon? He hears the music, the gates are open, and out comes a bull right at him. What would be the difference between what you're talking about and the matador?
It's really a difference of intensity.
Mm-hmm. Good, yeah. Tell me more about that. That's a good start. Difference in intensity.
Well, the matador is quite aware that it can be killed very quickly just by letting go of his attention. And this is what this man was saying before in terms of the pressure that he can put on himself to work, the intensity of the work, the pressure. One is a pressure cooker, the other one is, a slow simmer without the cover on it. It all goes to waste. And so I think it's really one of the ways in which one can remember. Remember what? Remember that we take everything for granted. This man takes everything for granted all the time. Being able to talk, being able to walk, being able to breathe, being able to see are things he takes for granted all day long, even at this moment. And to be grateful for all these things that we have, but not just as an intellectual exercise, but from the bottom of our heart, I think is really the work that the chair is teaching.
The matador comes out, the trumpet plays, the gate flies open, and death is coming at him. Death or triumph. This afternoon may make him the greatest matador who ever lived, or a dead matador. There's no room for anything else but to do what you do at the best, because this is it. Ow! Oddly enough, acts that I've played, singers come out, conversations that I've had, when they hear their bows, there's something inside them that says, this is it. This is my career. If I flop here, it's kind of business death or artistic death. I can't flop. I'm going to go out and do it. This is the moment you've been waiting for all day or all evening. This is important. Can we live with that kind of feeling? Can we live with that kind of feeling? Yes.
Add a few words to that comment. I find that the way things work is that we're auditioning for essence, for the essence world. And we're becoming In other words, there are certain essence personas that are looking for a home. They're looking for entities in which to express ideas that are much more unusual, rarefied, whatever way you want to describe them. That's how I see the work.
Mhm.
And that in order to be a proper vessel, one has to do one's exercises. One has to be capable of withstanding those personas to be able to house them. And that whole realm of essence, you can't fail. When Yossi was saying about failing, or it's a certain kind of that world, like the man on wire.
Mhm.
It's a very fluid world. It has none of the properties of here. You can't. It doesn't have that material brittleness. And if you take on one of these assignments, you will succeed, because you are housing an entity that the world of failure or success, it doesn't exist. It just intentionally proceeds to accomplish the task at hand. And so I found my whole life has been doing all these exercises for years and years and years, and then all of a sudden being a candidate, like anything else, to do your very best, and that every single moment, that's what you're doing. Your life, your centerpiece of your life is this study, this work. There's nothing else. Because you are allowing yourself to be chosen, and that at some point you are chosen. I feel very much that way. And that's what I gave my life over to, and I live in those terms. And I feel that you can tell when people have achieved that to a greater or lesser degree. And that's all I can say about it. But it's, you can feel like, why would these more rarefied expressions of life choose to be housed inside a completely dull, uninteresting person who's not willing to work on anything and wants some form of self-gratification in some form or other? Why would you ever choose to give the treasures of knowledge to that form of human being?
I can't understand why myself.
It's not given to them.
Thank you, Pam. And we can't just walk away from Johnny, who was speaking. In scene study acting classes, for a number of years I was in a school that did life or death studies. So 2 actors got together, well, let's put together a life and death study. Okay. Life and death situation. We can make one up out of 1,000,000 areas. Okay, there's only one dime between us and one telephone booth. Just think. Ordinarily you give this much more thought. There's only one dime between us. I must have that dime, because I have to make a phone call to instruct somebody on something that my whole life depends on it. I've got to have that dime. He says, no, I've got to have that dime. I told my girlfriend that I would call her at 8 o'clock. And she said to me, if the phone doesn't ring at 8 o'clock, I'm going to leave with this other guy because you broke your word again. So, Gil, I've got to have that dime. Well, I've got to have the dime. You've got to have the dime. That becomes a life and death situation. How badly do I want that dime? I want that dime bad enough to kill him. He wants the dime bad enough to kill me. There's only one dime. As actors, we're not allowed to jump on each other. So first thing we'll do is we'll try to appeal to rationality. Look, try it this way, let's think that way, you can do, mine is so important, I'm older than you are, you'll have to. Okay, that doesn't work. How about begging? Please, 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 do something. Give me the time I need it. Doesn't work. If you don't give me that dime, I'm going to call my rich uncle on Wall Street. You'll never work a job again in your life. In the meantime, he's doing what he can to get me. So we try appealing to rationality, we try threats, we try begging, we try everything in the world. And the basic idea is that no matter how long this scene stays on stage, it will never, never end. Cannot end, has no ending. Because he's not going to give up, and I'm not going to give up. We'll try everything. Deceit, lying. It goes on forever. Eventually the teacher says, well, it's been 15 minutes or 10 minutes. Stop. Good. Spoke about somebody who's coming on to do their act. Suppose you forget the words to your song. Suppose the band gets lost. Suppose. This is your moment. Out there is an agent. Maybe there's two. Maybe there's none. Maybe David O. Selznick himself is sitting out there. This is it. Do we live in terms of this is it? Here you are, standing in the subway, holding out the phone. Oh, God. Doesn't it go through your mind that if there's one or two or more tough guys there, they're going to see that you are a schleb, you got no power. Let's take this guy, we'll take his ring, we'll take his watch, we'll take his clothes. He's a victim. Is that on your mind, or are you going to stand like, hey, I'm here, and if you're going to mess with me, this is going to be a bad scene. I'm crossing the street. Behind the car that's turning the corner is a stoned-out jerk who's over 70 years old. He can't hardly drive when he's sober, and today he went to his daughter's funeral and he's stoned out more. I better watch out and see, is he slowing down? Not just, oh, the light's red, yes, Charlie. Is he really slowing down? I want to make eye contact with him. Do you see? Is he going to run me over? Okay, now I'm across the street. What's next? Always, every moment of our lives, there's something next. Every moment is important. Watch out! Are you standing up in the bathtub? Well, your friend Maurice Nicole, he slipped in his bathtub, broke his neck and died. Watch out for that soap in the bathtub. Be there, be careful. Time is running out. Life is running out. You are dying at this moment. Dying. Everybody's dying, but you're only going to notice that you're dying. This is no time to be thinking, la-di-da, 5 years from now, when the kids graduate, then Martha and I will go, and we'll go to Costa Rica. Maybe it's nice there. No way. This is the moment. You are here now. Brace yourself. Life is tough, and it's tougher if you're dumb. Does this make any sense when you're going out to cross the street?
I wish I remember all this when I cross the street.
Well, then I'll ask somebody to hit you in the car. You'll get hit once, like I did, and you won't forget it anymore. Yeah. Returning to one or two or a few basic themes. Life is so impermanent that every day another example comes of boop, here today and gone today. I have several friends who, they went into the bathroom, their wife knocked on the door a half hour later, there they were dead. That's everyday occurrence. When's it going to happen to you? I don't know. Do you know? It could be tomorrow. For me, maybe you've got a deal with the creative department, but I don't have a deal. What else? You come home. Hi, sweetheart. Hello, doggy. Little Janie. How are you? A few minutes later, after dinner, the wife said, look, Sam, excuse me. I don't want you to take this personally. You might go home and... Excuse me, George. Oh, I'm sorry again. Everybody's got popular names. Excuse me, Ivan. I got to talk to you. Yes. It seems, Ivan, that in the last few months, we've been growing a little bit more distant, and I guess things aren't the same as we start. That's at 8 o'clock. At 10:30, your bag is packed. You're out the door looking for a taxi to take you to the hotel. The marriage is over. She met the Iceman, and the Iceman was really cool. Go to work. Well. What's this little note here? Go home. Don't come back. If you're in the building 20 minutes from now, security is going to take you out and throw you out in handcuffs. You know what I mean? It's always what's going to happen next. I told you this, I would say easily 15 years ago, and you told me I was paranoid. You know what? I'm still paranoid. More so. Yeah. I go out to take out the garbage up my driveway. I don't forget about that 400-pound bear that I've seen on my property twice in the last few weeks. What mood is he going to be in if we cross paths? Can't outrun him, can't outtalk him, can't anything. Let's hope he's in a good mood. Everything is now. This moment. This may be the last time I ever sit in this chair. Man, I gotta make this a good one. Or a bad one, or something. But it's the last time I'll ever. And for I don't know how long, 12 people are going to say, Gil did this, said this, blah, 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 blah. This was his last night, I remember it. Look back over your past. How many times have you entered a situation that within a day or less, or an hour or less, your world changed? Like that. Come home, where's little Terry? He's out in the pools. You go out, there's little Terry floating. Well, that's the end of little Terry. How are you going to take that? That's the world we live in. You're going to present to Mr. Harris. Better make this a good presentation, because if you don't make it a good presentation and Harris doesn't buy, you may be out looking for another job. You're at a bar. Careful what you say, Romeo. Careful what you look, because that gal that went from there to there, you said, hey, smart stuff, you come here often. And behind her comes a 240-pound football player who's going to tear you apart for talking to my girlfriend. You dig? There is never a moment of let-up. It's always that. Whether you're on the highway, whether you're at home, whatever. That's your not little secret. A lot of people have had their home invaded when they're in the bathtub or on the throne. You better have your peace with you. You better have it chambered and ready in the bathtub or on the throne or anyplace else. Because when that door flies open, you better start shooting. It's not a giggle. It may giggle to you. It's not a giggle to me. So every instant is important. Every instant in your world, my world, is exactly like the matador. If I don't do it right, this may be the end, and they're going to be dragging me out by my heels, and all my signs come down. There will be no next Sunday afternoon. What are you feeling, Sam? What do you think? Where are you?
Thinking about the concept we spoke about, like let's say when you're in the zone and when you're not in the zone, and the difference between the two. And as Yossi was speaking before, for this man, I was trying to come up with differences that this man senses. And when you're in the zone, it's more concise, it's clear, it's a sigh of relief almost. And when you're not in the zone, it's convoluted, it's stressful, aggravating, frustrating. And for this man, it's very important when the other person is also working, because it's just a lot easier. But when they're not, it's a struggle to kind of resist that pull into the stress and into the aggravation and complaining, and it becomes that much harder. But this man has done exercises, and he's seen that it's actually beneficial for this man when he does interact with someone that's not in the work, because it's a constant exercise of, okay, well, this person is complaining about this, don't give into it. This person is angry about this, don't go along. This person is this. So it's, it's an exercise. You're working out. And the intensity that you're talking about is something that, we all take for granted. It's there, it's present, but the daily life stuff kind of puts us to sleep, and, it's a lullaby, and it kind of deflects you from that intensity, where it's more sort of self-induced coma. That's